Welcome back, y'all. I really wanted to get this video out because I am introducing a new vintage road bike to the channel. It's actually the oldest road bike I've ever owned as well. But there's two major details with introducing this bike. The first major detail is it was an even trade that I used my Performance Vitesse for. So that bike is unfortunately no longer a part of this channel. And two, it's not full steel. I know. Please don't cancel me. But I think you'll understand where I'm coming from once you see the condition of this bike. And also, there's still some steel elements involved with this frame set. But without further ado, introducing my 1986 Raleigh Technium 460. So, like I mentioned, it's not full steel. The triangle on the frame is aluminum and it's bonded aluminum. Some folks don't like that thought from back in the day when they were experimenting with that. My very first vintage bike was an aluminum bonded frame, the Mangusta line from Mongoose, and that held up quite well. I rode it so much. So personally, even with the Mongoose brand, the bonds held perfectly fine. I never had an issue with riding it so many miles back in the day. And I've seen a lot of photos, even of this type of frame, damaged, crashed. I've never seen the bonds come loose. So I actually am very confident in the build. And I'd rather be riding this than carbon fiber. But I'm gonna start from the front, move my way to the back of all the components on here. Not all of them are original and stock, but still they're in extremely good condition. So with the drop bars, these are actually stock. You can see the emblems on the front and they look really cool, super clean as well. Next, the brake levers are going to be the Shimano BLZ 304 brake levers, and they're non-aero obviously. And I'm going to try out non-aero brake levers again. I'm going to be sticking with these for a longer period of time rather than when I had non-aero brake levers on my Fuji Palisade in the past. I didn't really get any ride footage and I just really wanted to revisit it because it's such a classic look. The first time around I didn't have the best experience, but I have confidence that I'm gonna adapt a little bit better this time around. And kind of the reason with that is the brake hoods. Now, these are not original. They're from Soma and they market it as a Campagnolo style, but they actually work with these brake levers extremely well. In fact, they fit so much better than what I had on my Fuji Palisade that's what inspired me to go back to the non-aero brake levers, because these rubber hoods feel so good. In fact, when I got this bike from the previous owner, he had the exact same style Soma rubber brake hoods on it, but they were white. I'm not the biggest fan of white hoods, so I ordered the black because I knew they were compatible. And again, they fit beautifully. They do not move at all, and they don't have gaps like on my Fuji Palisade. Now moving a little further down, as you can see, the head badge is in extremely good condition, along with that purple glitter flake on the head tube. Super cool combination. I love it, and it glistens in the sun so much. And that being said, the head tube and the tops of the fork legs are lugged, have a lugged kind of look. So that's pretty cool that it's kind of a mix between lugged and non-lugged sections. I love lugged frames, but I'm not a diehard for them, so if it didn't have it, it wouldn't bother me too much, but this is a great middle ground. So with the brake calipers, they are nutted and they are single pivot brake calipers, and it appears to be a Shimano non-series. Seems like from my research, the BR-Z57. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but that's what these seem to be. Again, I love single pivot brake calipers. I feel like there's way more modulation and not too grabby, and combined with these brake levers, feel extremely good. Now, kind of a hurdle with a lot of these older road bikes, if they come with 27-inch wheels, it extremely limits your tire choice. However, with the condition of these Araya rims and these wheels along with the seal bearing hubs, I'm actually going to stick with the 27-inch wheels because the condition is just too new to really swap these out and to not use them. That being said, the tires on here even though they're all black and I prefer gum wall. The previous owner put brand new tires on here, so I'll give them a shot. They're gonna be the Kenda K36 tires, and they're 27 by 1/8. I think that's the size. Again, 27-inch is new to me, but I still want to experience that, see if I feel a difference. The best part is you can use 700C tubes, so don't have to buy specific tubes for these rims. It looks like the rims are drilled for Schrader, but the Presto fits fine along with the valve nut, so I have no problems yet using this conversion. Now moving to the down tube shifters, these are going to be the Shimano L422 model. Friction only, and I'll tell you what, I did have a previous video where I talked about the Suntour Cyclone friction only down tube shifters being the best down tube shifters I've ever used. I'm gonna have to make a follow-up video and talk about how good these down tube shifters are. Again, friction only, but they have a ratcheting feature on both sides, and that feels so much nicer. So stay tuned for a review video on these. Just backing up a little bit, the lugs for the rear brake cable housing to run internally, so it's aero, but to run internally, seems like from the information I found online, they were running it on the right side, both front and back. Eventually they switched it to the opposite side, so that's one slight knock against this frame set, is running the rear brake cable on the right side. It does kind of have this cross section that if you weren't looking for it, you wouldn't notice, but if you're really trying to split hairs here, does put the cable routing opposite of what's traditional. So it seems like around 1986 and older, I could be wrong because there's different brands out there, but usually there's only water bottle bosses on the down tube and not the seat tube. From old photos and videos of races back then, they didn't really have a secondary cage until the late 80s, early 90s, at least it seems to me. But I had to buy water bottle clamps for the seat tubes so I can have two, especially in super hot Florida down here. So originally it only has a mount for one water bottle cage on this bike. Moving on to the crankset is the Sakai SA model, 110 BCD for the crank arm, and the chainring combination is 5240. Now I used that in the past on my Fuji Palisade, so it's a very familiar combination. But personally, I do like it a lot. Now moving to the saddle and seat post setup. Of course, the previous owner put a period correct turbo saddle, rode it for 5 minutes, and it was just excruciating. I don't know how some of you all ride these turbo saddles. It's ridiculous. Immediately took that off and just went with my usual Shimano Pro Stealth saddle. Another thing addressing the seat post, I can confirm for this frame set and this year, it's 26.8 seat post diameter. Now the original seat post, super nice, had the fluted design, but you can see how short it is. And I just needed a 1/4 of an inch more in seat post length. So I had to go with the Uno stem. Fits perfectly, 26.8 again, so can totally confirm 26.8 is the seat post used. Again, rear brake cable housing exiting from the right side, which crosses over how the brake calipers are made. But it has this really cool, not exactly lugged, but this section here that's really unique. And with the front and rear derailleur, along with the down tube shifters, it seems to be a line from Shimano called the Shimano Light Action. It actually feels really nice, doesn't feel budget, but I'm really uneducated on information about this line. It's hard to find details online. And I don't know if you've all experienced, but velobase.com still isn't working. So that was my go-to. Can't find any details on there. But combination with the down tube shifters, front and rear derailleur feel perfect. And honestly, it's starting to sway me away from Suntour. But speaking of Suntour, can't escape it with these entry-level and mid-level vintage bikes. The freewheel is the Suntour Perfect freewheel, and it's 14 to 28 6-speed. Again, mentioning my Mangusta that I used to have, that was my first experience with the freewheel and the same combination. So I'm confident I'm gonna enjoy this gear combination. But still, it's freewheel. If I find anything online, I could just swap it out for a more aggressive gear combination. Oh, I guess I got to do a sound check for you because it's the hip thing to do. But finishing up in the back, again, like I mentioned, only the main triangle is aluminum tubes. The chain stays and the seat stays are steel. The lugs are steel as well, including on the head tube and the head tube itself. Oh, and also the bottom bracket is the original loose ball bearing square taper, so it runs extremely smooth. I'm just gonna leave it on there even though I don't have a tool to service it. But for now, it's really nice. Even with the rear dropout, again, steel, it does have adjustment forward and back. So that's actually a really nice feature. And I'm glad that this bike has it because my performance contestie had it as well. So a few more minor details before I wrap this video up. With the cables running under the bottom bracket, on my Fuji Palisade, it was actually drilled out where the cables will be rubbing against the actual bottom bracket itself through the frame, and I didn't like that. I knew eventually over time it will rust and corrode. Again, probably for way longer than what I would have written it for, but at least for this one, just like my performance contestie, there is that cable guide pad that's on the bottom that screws in. So I prefer that, and I'm glad that this is on here. Also, when I do get these bikes, I try to keep the original brake cable housing and the cables themselves. They have a tiny bit of rust, but work totally fine, and the brake cable housing is cut correctly. But I was able to source a new old stock brake cable kit that is period correct. And also the brake levers do need the cable stops in order for it to be compatible with the brake cables. But other than that, that is the complete tour of my 86 Raleigh Technium 460 bike. As you can see, it is in such good condition, and I hope you understand why I did the trade. Even though, again, it's not full steel, it's got mostly steel components on the frame set, so I think that qualifies. Plus, super budget oriented, as a lot of these parts are new old stock and not that costly at all, either online or locally. Lastly, it's not complete in my eyes because it does not have tan wall tires. I might try the Kendas, but in the gum wall version, or I may go with the Panaracer Pacella Pro Tights, but those are a little more pricey. Still, I think it's going to complete the look if I get gum wall tires on here. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed this overview video. There will be more ride footage coming up, and also I'll post on my Instagram, so be sure to follow me on Instagram if you want more up-to-date photos and everything. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below, but thank you so much for liking and watching my videos and subscribing. I truly appreciate that, and there will be more to come. So catch you in the next video.